A second stimulus check is confirmed, but how much is it? When will you get it? And when will the final vote come down? Hey everybody, this is LALATE with a second stimulus check and stimulus package update for today. This one's about the check with great news, especially for those on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, and Railroad benefits and veterans benefits. We have really breaking news on a lot of fronts today. First, about the date that you would likely get the check. Second, about the amount of the check. And third, which I'm going to start with first, what's happening next week. Yes, LALATE has learned from a couple of news sources minutes ago that next week we will see a new draft of the second stimulus package. This one apparently is going to be released to press from Steve Mnuchin and Mitch McConnell. As you know, Mitch McConnell's on vacation, members of Congress are on vacation, but the staffers of the congressman are working. And news reports now indicate today, minutes ago, that Mitch McConnell's staff has been working around the clock with Steve Mnuchin, who is the Treasury Secretary for the White House, to come up with the Republicans' version of the second stimulus package, and that it will be released to members of the press, not introduced as a bill, but released to members of the press next week so that it can be talked about over the next couple of weeks before Congress comes back in session in late July. What is going to be in the second stimulus package, and what will the check look like in the Republican version? Let me recap. First of all, we have confirmation that there will be a second stimulus check, so this is great news. The Republicans are going to have a second stimulus check in their package. They've indicated to press. Second, the Democrats have a second stimulus check in their package, which is the HEROES Act. Third, the White House has said it wants a second stimulus check. It said it over and over again. It said it again overnight, and I'll begin with those comments as well. So we know there is going to be a second stimulus check. This is great, great, great news. Second, we know when the stimulus check will now likely land in your account. We know that that date apparently is going to be possibly around August 28th. Wow. So where does this date come from? As this channel has been reporting for over 2 weeks, August 7th is likely the date that the bill, the second stimulus package, which includes the check, will be approved by members of Congress. And new calculations released today indicate that if it follows how the first stimulus check was done, that the date that the check will likely go out will be around August 26th, which means that you will receive funds around August 28th. This is great news. Now, the manner of delivery of the funds is really a core issue, and we don't know that issue. That is still up for debate. There's a push for everyone to get it by direct deposit, which would be August 28th. If you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, or Railroad benefits, and you receive your benefits by electronic means, one, either by direct deposit, or two, by debit card, then you would be among those early first few days of recipients of the second stimulus check. I mean, this is great news. August, late August. If you receive your benefits by paper check, you would be a little bit later thereon. But let's get to the details of what's going on today. This is really quite shocking. So apparently Steve Mnuchin, who's the Treasury Secretary, and Mitch McConnell's staff have been working on drafts of what will be the Republican version of the second stimulus package. And we'll release it to members of press around next Monday, and we'll be covering for you as soon as it breaks. I want to respond to one comment I saw a few times in the comments overnight. Some people were repeating Mitch McConnell's May remark, which was the HEROES Act is dead. That is simply not true. Mitch McConnell's bill is also not dead either. Basically, what's happening is that both sides are going to have to work on a resolution, an agreement about what's in the second stimulus package. Today, we will be going through what parts of that second stimulus package will last in our other videos, hazard pay, rent assistance, PUA. I'll be going over that later. But for purposes of this video, great news. All these packages include a second stimulus check. Now, the amount. Let's go over the amount. I want to say something very clearly before I get to the amount. You know why I'm laughing. There's only two reasons why I'm laughing. A, it's either Mitch McConnell, or B, it's Larry Kudlow. Well, guess what? It's Larry Kudlow, who is really not part of the discussion of the second stimulus check. He is not involved with drafting the second stimulus check. He's involved with stuff like China trade and stuff like that. But someone got Larry Kudlow in a corner on Friday last week, and he ran his mouth on what he thought the second stimulus check will be. I really don't care. But I want to tell you, and I know you're going to be pissed, Larry Kudlow thinks that no one really should get a second stimulus check, and that should be very little money. Okay, I just told you, so let's move on. I really don't care what Larry Kudlow says. The comments that I do care about are Steve Mnuchin, Nancy Pelosi, the Democrats, and the Republicans, Mitch McConnell. What are they talking about the amount? So we will see next week, but it appears that we are pushing towards three possible fronts. The first one is everyone gets a second stimulus check up to a sizable amount of 2019 earnings. It's not quite clear where the Democrats want to put it at, or where they'll move the core, maybe to about $90,000. Democrats want to give you one $1,200 check. That is their position at the moment. Second, the Democrats are seemingly split, the Republicans are seemingly split between two possibilities. Those two possibilities are everyone gets a stimulus check, but it's a little bit more than $1,200, or everyone gets a stimulus check that's more than, or that some people get a stimulus check that's more than $1,200, but they have to make less money. Let me explain what's going on. Republicans don't want to spend a lot of money on stimulus checks. They just don't. And so they're doing two things. They're doing, one, the idea of let's give less people stimulus checks. Let's just cut out some people, not give them stimulus checks. Or two, if we're going to give it to everyone, then we give it, then we reduce the threshold. And so what appears to be the case, and we won't know till Monday or Tuesday, but it appears that, one, the White House has said they want to give more than the Democrats. They want to give more than $1,200, about $2,000. But then there's another front, and I think it's Mitch McConnell, but we don't know where it is, that says, you know what, I don't have a problem with the amount, but I have a problem with giving it to people who made $70,000, $80,000 last year. So if you want to give that amount, you give it to people who made less money last year, like $40,000 or less last year. So that's where the Republicans are. They aren't unified, and that's why Mitch McConnell and Steve Mnuchin's office are battling over it. President Trump, meantime, is really under the gun because Joe Biden overnight released his plan for the economy, which includes new jobs, includes more stimulus, and it's part of an economic plan that he's pushing if he becomes president. Donald Trump, however, has not released his plan, and by current reports from CNBC, he's late on doing it. Ultimately, the president's economic plan could include additional stimulus packages or stimulus proposals, whether it's infrastructure, jobs, new things for you and the viewers of this channel, but the President Trump has not yet done it. Now, if the stimulus package is approved on around August 7th or 8th, which I have been reporting, then how soon will you get this stimulus check? You would likely get it around August 26th. You would get it around August 28th. It would be sent out around August 26th. How do we know this? There's a new calculation out today that says that when we were looking at the first stimulus check, when it was approved, when were funds sent out, there's a certain number of days. And so if you use the same number of days and look at the second stimulus check, then we know that if the approval of the second stimulus package, which includes the second stimulus check, is approved around August 7th or 8th, which this channel is reporting it will, then the funds will be sent out. The money will literally be sent out around August 26th. So the people who get funds by electronic means, direct deposit, direct express, debit cards, things like that, you would be the first ones. And it usually takes about 2 days routing time to get monies into your account when sent out by the Treasury, the IRS. So if you add 2 days to April 26th, that's about April 28th. There you go. So great news about that as well. If you receive your benefits by check, or you receive the first stimulus check by paper check as well, you would be later. So you would be around early September. How do we know what's going on with Mitch McConnell and Steve Mnuchin? So this is quite interesting. You know, this channel has been slamming Mitch McConnell left and right about his Tahitian holiday, but his staff is in Congress. His staff is in the Congress, is in the building, literally in the building. Nancy Pelosi's staff is in the building. Members of Congress's staffers are actually working. They are not on vacation. It's just the people they work for are on vacation, and so apparently Senator McConnell on Monday yesterday said that his office, not yesterday, it would have been 2 days ago, said that his office has been working for several weeks and is still working this week with Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin on a second stimulus package, and that he proposes to release the second stimulus package, which includes a second stimulus check, to press next week. Really great news. So a lot less waiting. We're finally getting to hear it. Now, what does the White House think about this? Well, we already know Donald Trump has said he wants to give a stimulus check that is more than the Democrats. And the Democrats proposed $1,200, so he proposes a check more than that. He had his deputy press secretary, John Deere, speak to Newsweek yesterday and said that the administration is studying and prioritizing this second stimulus check and wants to ensure that the great American workforce is able to be rewarded and ensure that they're able to survive. But then we have that wild card, who I really don't care about, Larry Kudlow, who spoke to Fox Business News on Friday. And Larry Kudlow said, I don't like stimulus checks. I don't even think that anyone should get, I think everyone should get less than $1,200. That's what Larry Kudlow said. I really don't care. And you shouldn't care either, because he's not part of the discussion. Mitch McConnell actually says who's doing this with him. It's him and Steve Mnuchin. Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary. Larry Kudlow has no horse in this race. So what is he talking about? Mr. Short, who's also part of the Trump administration, said to press overnight, I think we want to make sure that people that are still unemployed and are hurting are protected. But at the same time, we need to take into consideration the fact the economy is bouncing back, and we want to contain that amount of spending. These aren't my words. These are someone else's words. If you don't realize what's going on, the Republicans are trying to push this agenda, and I'm not being political, I'm just reporting what's happening. They're trying to push this agenda and an image that the American economy is doing great, that everyone is back at work, that no one is hurting, and that everything has bounced back, which is absolutely not true. It is, it is a way to look at things through rose-colored glasses. People are hurting. People need a second stimulus check. But they're trying to make the economy look better than it is. When Fox's Blake Berman asked for clarification whether Trump would support a larger stimulus check, the president says, I want the money getting to people to be larger. Let me say that again. President Trump says, I want the money getting to people to be larger so they can spend it. I want the money to get there quickly in a non-complicated fashion. So that's really great news. And that is not the first time the president has said that in the last couple of weeks. He wants to one-up the Democrat proposal. The Democrats have proposed a single $1,200 check. He wants to give more than that. Now, the good news is that all three forces want to give you a second stimulus check. We have that confirmed. White House, Democrats, Republicans, all are calling for a second stimulus check. We also know when the second stimulus check will likely get approved. On or around August 7th. We knew it yesterday because I detailed yesterday that Nancy Pelosi is ordering the House not to leave if they don't have a second stimulus package approved. Let me touch on that for a second. I'm here to educate, inspire, and keep you motivated and positive. And one thing I want to remind you of, and I know it's a little complicated, is that a bill does not start and end in the Senate. Some people have said in the comments, well, if it all depends what Mitch McConnell wants to do. No, because even if a bill starts in the Senate, it goes back to the House. It doesn't start in the Senate and finish in the Senate. It has to get approval from both houses. Any bill has to get approval from both houses. The House is run by the Democrats. The Senate is dominated by the Republicans. So Mitch McConnell may introduce to press next week a plan, and then physically introduce the bill when Congress goes back in session in late July. But I don't want you to think that Mitch McConnell's plan is the only plan. I don't want you to think that because it starts in the Senate, it will be the only plan and will automatically get ratified. No, it would have to go through both houses. And the way it works, if you also don't know, is that there is actually law that says when there's competing bills, which there would be now, that they are to put the bills together and work them together. So they're not supposed to throw one away and only do one or the other. It's not how it works. Mitch McConnell said that last month, but he's just blowing hot air, which he does quite oftenly. So that's the great news. What we don't know is really the amount of the check or checks. Yes, there's been called for $2,000 checks every month for 6 months. A check to land in your account every month for 6 months or until the pandemic improves or until unemployment goes down. There's been calls for retroactive checks going back because you never got checks for April, May, and June and July. There has been calls for checks for stimulus check and then an additional check if you got back to work in any capacity in the last couple of weeks, a supplemental check on top of that. There's been a lot of talk of different things. Ultimately, we don't know where this is going to land beyond the fact that, one, you will get a single stimulus check. Some of the viewers who are new to this channel, thanks for joining on a regular basis. I mean, it's like 10,000 new subscribers every 48 hours, have asked, well, I didn't get the first stimulus check. Well, I get the second stimulus check. It depends on a few factors. One, the first stimulus package did not provide a stimulus check to you if you are dependent on someone else's tax return. Under the second stimulus package, that's thrown out. You do get a second stimulus check. So don't worry about that. Second, under the first stimulus package, the dependents, whether it's a child, let me back up. Under the first stimulus package, it only paid stimulus checks to kids under a certain age. So if, for example, you have a child who's of college age, they were not eligible for a first stimulus check. If you had a parent who is an adult dependent on your tax return, they were not eligible for a first stimulus check. That is gone under the second stimulus packages. All the second stimulus packages now propose to give a second stimulus check to everyone, whether you are a child under the age of high school age or a child of college age, whether you are an adult dependent like a grandmother on your daughter or son's tax return, you all get second stimulus checks. What's also really great news is that under all these proposals, the second stimulus check amount is the same for you as for the person whose return you are on as a dependent. Lastly, some viewers have asked me what's going on with this $40,000 threshold that Mitch McConnell has asked about. Well, the good news is for me to say, hey, we will see now on Monday or Tuesday. I have said from the very moment that Mitch McConnell sort of filtered it out last week on a Friday before getting on a plane to go wherever he went, to Tahitian holiday, that he only wants a second stimulus package to be sent to people who made $40,000 or less last year. That's what he said. He didn't reduce in the bill. We now know today, which is really great, exciting news, that he and Steve Mnuchin are working together to fashion the Republicans' solution proposal for a second stimulus check. And we will see whether or not that $40,000 does become the threshold under the Republican plan, or whether or not the stimulus package is just broadened wider than that. Really great news. A lot of great stuff coming up. As I've told you before, Congress is on break, but their staff is working, the White House is working, and next week we will see the Republicans' proposal for the second stimulus package. As always, drop your comments below and I may answer them in tomorrow's recording. Coming up later today, I will be answering your questions from yesterday's incredibly watched second stimulus check video. As always, stay positive, stay motivated, and stay with a smile. And stay with LA for more.